following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is The Art of Politics. And I always say it's the only show of its type where the great, good Democrat goes against that awful, mean Republican. Now, of course, Al Baldessaro, but he came today in makeup, so let us introduce. Hi, Al. How you doing? Actually, this is Roger Carroll from the Telegraph. And how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, boy, I'll tell you what. I hope you do a lot better than Al Baldessaro does. Because I just called him and I said, why don't you come down and join us? Hoping he wouldn't, of course, because you have no idea what takes place with Al. The Telegraph. It's interesting because we were just talking before, and I said to you, is there anything you'd like to ask me? I'm a state representative, and you told me you were at the State House for how many years?
Oh, no, just about 19 months. I worked in the clerk's office.
In the clerk's office as?
I was assistant clerk of the House.
And you saw how?
I saw how the sausage got made.
How the sausage got made. So this gentleman is I can't sneak him into anything. I'm sorry. You're going to know everything.
No. Far from it. But it was a real good education, and I enjoyed my time.
And why did you like it?
Because you get to listen to the debate that takes place on the floor. You get to see the debates that didn't take place, and I came to understand how the House worked, the committee structure. It was an interesting time.
In the clerk's office, did you hear anything that you had to keep quiet?
Well, if I did, I can't talk
Well,
about
no, of course not. I'm just asking you.
No, a lot of it is making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. It's a big responsibility. I mean, we have a couple of thousand bills in a 2-year session.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
So a lot of paperwork. You keep your head down. You make sure that you're doing the job. You're doing it well. You try to be responsive.
And you work
members.
for?
I work for Karen Wadsworth, who was the clerk of the House for.
She just
retired.
Just retired. She just retired. Yes.
And really good at what she did.
Yes.
Really good.
And she was a Republican, and she had a radio show up in Lebanon.
She was the former mayor of Lebanon.
That's right.
That was. I first got to know her when she was on the city council.
Yes, but I mean, in Lebanon, in those days, you know, the town council was what, 2 dogs sleeping under a pickup truck. I mean,
but it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it.
Well, she was, of course, as you know, I'm a state representative. I've been there on my 4th term, so it's 8 years. And this is the true story about Carroll. I walked into the State House. I didn't know where to go. I was on the 1st floor. I just walked up the stairs. She was the first person I saw. And I said, I don't know where I'm going. And she said, most of the people don't. You're the first termer? I said, yes. So she said, this is what I do. I said, thank you.
And they had an orientation session for you.
Oh, they had everything. I mean, come on. It was just but what people don't really realize, that it was told to me is, look, the first 2 years, you're not going to understand what's going on. You think you are. And sure enough, it's correct. You've got to be there 2 or 3 terms before you can really do anything. Not that you're a name, and not that you can't do something. But very few people walk in there with no experience like myself, and that's the majority of the people, have no idea what's going on.
You think it could be the pay?
Yes, it could be the pay, and I'll tell you what a lot of people don't know, and because I've been there a while, a lot of bankruptcies, but people go up there and spend too much time up there.
Yeah.
Now, for myself, we've almost used all our savings, so this may be it for me. Families breaking up because not spending time with their families. There's a lot of that took place, and a lot of people didn't know. I knew people who electricity was shut off, and people ran over and did something to keep them warm, build a fire, bring over the wood, or whatever it was. So here in New Hampshire, it's kind of very, very odd. It's a very odd thing to do, but it is as what all states do. We do the same thing, and I figured out there's only probably really about 150 out of 400 that really work.
Well, it's funny, when I was working in the clerk's office, somebody submitted a bill to change the Constitution to reduce the size of the legislature to 175 members. Somebody pointed out, well, that's about what you have now from a practical standpoint. But New Hampshire's legislature is the largest in the country, and it's the lowest paid in the country.
Excuse me. It's the 3rd largest governing body in the English-speaking world. Right. So we are the largest, and we are volunteer.
Well, and the other thing that is striking is if you look at it, you have the biggest differential, I think, between the 2 chambers. The House having 400 members, the Senate having 24 members. And that differential, I think, is probably bigger than anywhere else.
And it puts the senators under a lot of strain. In fact, we'll get into it later, maybe not now. I want to know a little bit more about you. But what the Senate really does many times, they passed a bill, it was the FRM, Financial Resource Mortgage Bill, 24-0, and they sent it to our committee.
The Commerce Committee.
Yes, Commerce Committee. And everybody, all the senators signed off on it. And of course, these people were going to get millions of dollars back. Well, when it was brought in our committee, that wasn't going to happen. So we did all their work for them. And then we sent it back, and it passed the House, and so now they got it. But the senators are so inundated. Many times they've got to be at 3 meetings at the same time. How can you do it?
Well, they haven't invented that technology yet.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't. It is too much to do. It is too much to do. I think you're right. I think we should have more senators. But I don't think you're ever going to get any less representatives.
Well, amending the Constitution is exceptionally hard.
Yes.
And it should be. So the pay is not going to change, and the size of the bodies are not going to change.
I wish the chairs would change. You see, they haven't changed. What is it? We've been there for, 168 years, 170 years, and 400
You mean
seats.
the chairs that you sit in? Yeah.
Okay, see, these are small, all right? Well, they're about this small, and when you sit down, the person next to you is touching you.
They're like the old seats at Fenway Park.
Ah, yes. And those were fun then, because you didn't care.
Well, at least you're watching baseball.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't cross your legs, and you get up, and everybody has to stand up. I mean, it really, but that's how we get a lot of bills passed, is because by 7 o'clock at night, guess what?
Well, the other thing is, and this will come into play more as things warm up, the House, or the State House is not air conditioned. People don't know that. Most people don't know that.
People do not know that.
One of the reasons that I have heard given for it not being air conditioned is that there's a school of thought that, well, if you put in air conditioning, the reps would stay around longer in the summer because right now, you're going to meet in May, you may meet in June, you probably meet in June, and it's going to be oppressively hot, and somebody's going to stand up, and they're going to make the motion to allow gentlemen to remove their jackets.
Women must do this.
Right.
Yes.
A female member of the House will make the motion to allow gentlemen to dispense with their jackets, and it's going to be oppressively hot and humid.
Oh yeah.
And,
that room.
And they will have
is,
the big fans blowing.
Oh yeah, it makes no difference.
But
makes no difference.
so the thinking is that if you air conditioned it, it would be.
I don't
know that that's true.
I know,
but that's one of the rationales.
No, take my word. That's not true. Nobody wants to be in there. All right. Being uncomfortable, you can't listen.
Right.
You can't get up. You can't move around. You can't do your politics because people don't realize that during session day is the only day we're all together.
Right. Other than that, it's committees.
Well, I mean, the committees, but you're only 20, 25 maybe, and you're from a place, so that's the only place. So that's why everybody gets up and walks around, etc. I'll tell you something you may not know. When I first got there, I knew people were carrying guns. Okay? I didn't think anything about it. I mean, I saw it, so I said, okay. So
you went out and bought one?
No, I certainly didn't. I'm trying. No. We could talk about that also. But so a lady gets up and says, the gentleman, so the speaker says yes, so all these people take off their coats. I took mine off, obviously. I'm looking around, and there's about 40 or 50 people who look very hot, won't take off their coats because they're carrying guns. And if you think it's just men, you should see some of the women holding on to their little pocketbooks.
Yeah.
So a lot of people carry guns up there and have carried guns up there. In fact, they used to have downstairs if you don't want to carry your gun. You could put your guns in it. So anyway, that's one of the things that people don't understand. There are a lot of people up there who carry guns. And I think you remember when Bill O'Brien came in, he made it they changed the rules where you could carry guns inside the chamber. And a lot of people did go out and buy guns.
I remember that.
A lot of people dropped their guns, like the one that was sliding by me as I'm sitting on committee members. Guy gets drunk and he goes like this. I got two guns. Whoa, hold on a second. It's a little bizarre. People went out and bought guns because you could have them. So it got kind of bizarre up there.
Did I hear correctly? Did the speaker lock the doors of the House recently?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, locking the doors is the way. Well, first of all, people have to understand that we had 2 nights. One was to 9 o'clock.
Right.
All right. I mean, these were really like 9
in
the morning.
You were looking at crossover day.
Yeah, we had to finish,
right.
But we were there the other day.
Deadline.
We've got to go one more time to take care of some bills anyway. But what they do is they say, we're locking the doors. And if you want to go to and they don't let you really out of the room until it's 5 or 6 o'clock. And the reason is that all the other doors are watched downstairs, so you can't get out of the building. So you lock the doors, you don't let anyone out, because you need the count.
Right, the quorum.
You need the quorum. Well, there's always a quorum, but if you're a Republican or a Democrat, how many Republicans and Democrats are there? Because once when a lot of Democrats left, Bill O'Brien got up and proposed a bill. It was regarding unions, right to work bill, and it passed by about 3. Of course, the next day it was torn apart. So they do lock the doors. That's what they say. They lock the doors, and in some case, if they don't trust you, they'll go to the men's room with you, stand outside. And
if they think you're trying to
get out of there,
to escape.
and then they'll buy pizza for us.
Yeah.
They buy the pizza, right? So we eat pizza, we drink maybe a soft drink, water, and we go back in. And that's how it's done. We just have to get it done. And there's a lot of problems, too. There is a lot of people who are going for roll calls. A roll call, for those who don't know, as you obviously, is that where everybody, no matter where you are, go back to your seat, sit there and press the button. When many of them can just be voice votes. Like we had one people in New Hampshire could not own a flamethrower.
Saw that.
Okay, and so that was 12-0, but they brought that up.
You say 12-0. Is
It
12-0
was
in committee?
in committee
Right.
against it. All right, nobody wants anyone to own a flamethrower, but when it came out to the House floor, because of the politics, someone said roll call, which brought everyone back, and I think it's $1 a person, the cost of doing all of this. I'm not sure.
I saw that there was a bill to, well, looks like the speaker, and we editorialized about this recently, the speaker was thinking about appointing a committee to study how the legislature could operate a little more efficiently and to try to cut down on frivolous bills or bills that try to cut down on the volume of bills, because this is the second year of the biennium, and you've taken care of the budget in the first year of the biennium. Now you've got still got over 1,000 bills.
Look, there's two things that you should not do. One is, and under Bill O'Brien, when you went up to speak, you could speak no more than, I think it was 16 minutes or something. And that's both sides. So twice I got up to speak, but the time had run out. You should have the right to talk. It makes no difference. I'm sorry. If 25 people are talking, well, you have the right to talk.
That was one of the things that I saw Gene Chandler when he was speaker.
Yes.
Never put a time limit on a bill.
Never.
Bills never, and one of the things that, and we editorialized about this, one of the great things about the New Hampshire House is that every bill gets a hearing and every bill comes to the floor for a vote. And sometimes that vote takes the form of the consent calendar, which is like the cattle call, where you bundle 20 bills together and it's a single vote, yes or no. And those are always the bills that pass with the 13-0 or 17-0 or a lopsided.
But those can be pulled off the calendar.
Right,
a lot of them be pulled off
any
the
member can pull it. And
anything off.
I noticed that there was I think I have this right. There was a bill to elect judges that was on the consent calendar, and this is one that comes up all the time.
Yes.
It was on the consent calendar. The member pulled it off. There was about 12 minutes of discussion and then a roll call vote. And there were 85 members who voted in favor of electing judges. Now, I assume that it's too bad Representative Baldessaro wasn't here. I assume it's the Representative Baldessaro, wing of the Republican Party.
Yeah, he would be part of it.
Right.
So my whole thing was, we need more politics.
But there was no chance that it was going to come anywhere close to passage. And
I'll tell you what, maybe not now, but when Bill O'Brien was as Speaker of the House, it could have. I'm serious.
But that was an example of
frivolous
time wasted.
Time wasted.
Yeah, and so some of the we've suggested maybe it's time to go back to meeting once every 2 years. That was we had an editorial where we said, what, the first year you have the budget, and then you have other bills that get taken up. But for better than 200 years, the New Hampshire General Court existed, and the state got along just fine with the state meeting, with the legislature meeting once every 2 years.
Well, I certainly was in on that debate, and I would disagree with that 100%. And the simple reason is things are far too complicated. And in those 200 years, a lot of federal stuff wasn't taking place, coming in.
What's complicated? From
the monies to the committee meetings. I mean, someone's there all the time. What you're saying is, if you're saying it's 1,000 bills a year, that's 4,000 bills. You're saying only meet in 2 years twice, so you'd have 4,000 bills?
No, you have right now you have about 1,000 bills in each session.
Correct.
So this would, and let's not forget, some of those bills are repeats. A bill gets killed in the first session. The sponsor tweaks it a little bit, brings it back in the second session.
Well, they're
not supposed to do that.
No, they've got better than that. They've stopped that quite a bit.
Well, I noticed that there was a bill to charge people for accessing public information. That was a bill that generated a lot of debate in the first session, and it was shot down. You know the one I'm talking about? So the same bill came up this year.
Was it the exact same?
No, well, you know, it had a little language tweak here and there.
Because they had stopped that quite a bit. That was one thing that everybody is trying to do. Everybody is trying to stop that. In fact, I had a bill that was similar to someone else's bill, and my bill came first, okay? So they wanted me after to get rid of my bill, to put it in his bill, of which they did. What I put in my bill, he didn't have in his bill. So they took what was in my bill, put it in his bill, and passed it with his name on it.
Everybody follow that at home?
Yeah, everybody follow that at home. But you know,
yeah.
So here I am. He gets it passed, and I'm going, that's not what you wanted.
Yeah.
They use my name. Anyway,
so I just...
that's one way you can save time.
I think there was an interesting idea that the Monitor had a pretty good story where one of the ideas being floated around, I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but I think it might work, is right now any member can sponsor by themselves any an unlimited number of bills.
One person had 32, I think, this year.
Yeah, so part of the thinking is, okay, let's let them go solo on a certain, up to a certain number.
Yes.
And after that,
yes.
you would have to...
You need sponsors.
A co-sponsor.
Yes, you would
And
need.
the example we used was that, you know, so now if Representative Gidge wants to put in a bill to make the mullet the official state haircut of New Hampshire, and you've gone past your limit.
And if you were a politician, you'd vote against it.
You would have to get a co-sponsor.
Yes.
And it would make it so that may cut down on some of it. I just don't see what is so all-fired pressing.
Do you know how many people come up to me and say, get on my bill, get on my bill? I'll say, fine, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Then I have to usually go to Legislative Services and read it before I sign it. I mean, it happens all the time. Because if you've been there a while, people think you've got a little bit of pull within the politics of it.
Having your name helps.
Well, not in my case.
No, but
people
know, think if you have a representative who's been there for a while, they think, okay, having that person's name on my bill may...
Somebody like Gene Chandler,
give it,
obviously,
yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yep.
You get Gene Chandler on your, and then senators. I mean, a representative can go and get senators to sign on it, which is really good.
Right.
And usually, that people will look at it differently, but you don't get any special treatment either. So your time up there, what was the oddest thing you saw? I mean, we could certainly trade stories. You were right in the midst of everything that was going on because you had to publish everything and...
I was just taking it all in. I thought that people were respectful, always. And I was impressed by the level of civility. People who disagreed strongly about issues. And they still treated each other with respect.
What year was that?
2001, 2002.
Was that hotel across the river still open?
Oh, the Highway Hotel?
Yes.
No. But one of so I was impressed by that. I was impressed by the fact that every bill comes to the floor. That was, and I think that's, in Washington, a committee chairman can bottle up a bill and just kill it. Just
Correct.
by not letting it ever come for a vote.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in New Hampshire,
No.
nor should it.
No.
I think the New Hampshire way of doing business legislatively is, it's much better. Now, too much of a good thing can be bad. And
Well, let me explain
I think
that.
that's what we have.
Explain that. Civility? What?
No, I think
You were talking
too
much.
I think the workload has become enormous. And is
For representatives?
For representatives, and even more so for the Senate, I'm
Absolutely. Go ahead.
sure. And so it's become unwieldy. And so what I also think what's happened is, I'll tell you who would really hate annual sessions or biennial sessions is the lobbyist class.
Oh my God.
They
Yes.
yes. Because it would essentially hit them in the pocket.
But you know, in our handbook, it simply says, learn who your lobbyists are and use them to get their point of view really clear, because you're going to learn a lot from them, which is very unusual for somebody to say, use your lobbyists.
Yeah, well,
but don't let them use you.
There's no staff.
None.
So
we have no staff.
I think you can make the argument that there are some lobbyists who essentially, from whom the legislature is taking marching orders. I think the New Hampshire Municipal Association, the New Hampshire School Boards Association, we editorialized about this, where they take public money, and we talked about the right to know law, where they take public money and then they turn around and lobby against the expansion of the right to know law, and they lobby in favor of bills that would narrow it.
But you just turned around and said that New Hampshire was a great state where you got to...
All the bills come to the floor
all
for a
the
vote.
bills come to the floor, all the bills, and it's publicized for
That doesn't mean the
committee.
process is great.
But something that has happened recently, I think you did right on it, was that you could exec the bill in the same day.
Yep.
And the Commerce Committee, who is run again by Representative Hunt, I mean, he's been there a long time, refused to do that.
Yeah, there's a...
That's
execing
tough.
a bill is how a bill, just so people know, a committee will hold a hearing, and then at some point after that hearing, after they take testimony, they will what they call exec a bill, which is how it gets from committee to the floor of the House.
To the floor House.
Where they'll basically take a vote on what to recommend. And the problem is that committees used to be, and some committees still do, where a certain bill will be given a certain period of time where if you're following that bill, you know that the vote is going to take place at a given time.
But you know, the argument simply is I'm with you, but the argument simply is you can't say anything at the executive committee anyway. What's the big deal? What's the big deal?
I think the big
so
deal is
all you're going to do is hear what you don't want to hear or hear what you want to hear.
So that means the public doesn't have a right to
what?
follow that
Be
process?
there at the executive
to be
committee?
there, right.
No, I think you're absolutely wrong, and the National Telegraph is...
The public still has a right to be there, even if they can't speak.
I'm trying to take the opposite side. I can't do it. No, the point is absolutely correct.
When you keep the public in the dark.
That's why Representative Hunt would not do that.
And there were a few others.
Will not do that. In fact, in the Commerce Committee, Hunt came in and said, you got 2 days. We're going to be here from early in the morning to late at night because we are 50% of the bills that have not got on the calendar is from us.
Yeah. Because
we didn't play that game. But
you might have noticed that the Nashua School Board voted to cut funding for the New Hampshire School Boards Association. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I did not. Explain that to me.
They did. They got a cut.
Now, who cut who?
The Nashua Board of Education.
Okay.
They're going through a budget process.
Yes.
Where they have to make some cuts. And there was a vote that was taken to take money dues for the New Hampshire School Boards Association out of the budget. We said, it's a good vote. Because these people take tax money, take taxpayer money, and then they lobby against the public's right to know. So,
well, I will certainly argue with you on that. First of all, I know everybody on the school board, especially a particular one person, and I hate to say there's a lot of politics, but there is a lot of politics.
So which part
well,
are you disagreeing with?
The politics of it is to do exactly that. A person who does not want unions, for instance, will make that particular type of, we can take the money from here. You're saying, they're getting the money and then they're lobbying against it.
So the
Lobby
public-
against what?
They're
What are they lobbying against?
They're lobbying anytime.
No,
there's
no, not anytime. Come down.
Okay.
Now, you're a smart guy. You're supposed
All
to
right.
know. Absolutely. Lobby against what?
bills.
They get the money.
bills.
Where do they get the money, first of all?
They get it from school boards
School boards.
who pay dues.
Give them the
Where
money.
do
The school boards
Let's
pay
be
their-
clear. Where do
No,
the
no,
school
no,
boards
no,
get their
I'm-
money?
No, no, no. I'm asking you the question.
Where do the school boards get their money? They get it from the taxpayers. School boards get their money from the taxpayers,
Okay.
right? So then they pay their dues to the New Hampshire School Boards Association.
Okay.
And the same is largely true of the New Hampshire Municipal
Correct.
Association. And then
They're paying it to who? Are they
New
paying it to a
Hampshire-
union?
They're paying it to the New Hampshire School Boards
Are they paying it to the
Association.
unions?
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, it has a lot to do with it. Question. Answer the question.
I'm
Does
saying
this
that-
go
I'm
to the
saying-
unions?
I'm saying the school board
Gives the money.
pays the dues to the New Hampshire School Boards Association.
And is that basically under a union?
It doesn't have anything to do with unions. They're lobbyists.
Well,
So-
it has
so-
everything to do. Okay.
has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. It has everything to
So
do.
now the New Hampshire
Politically,
School Boards Association, which does many good things, don't get me wrong, they do. They provide good services to a lot of school boards, especially in small towns. But then, but one of the issues that I think the public should take issue with is that they then turn around using that taxpayer money and lobby against the public's right
yes,
to know.
but that's your opinion. And what your definition of is what right to know is sometimes so bizarre that you can write it up and nobody can criticize you because you guys won't even return phone calls to us.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. I sometimes make things up like that. You caught me.
I
I
called-
made it.
I
I
called
made
you.
it up. I made it up. No.
Or-
And now you're
I-
sorry
you
you
called
did.
me and
Let-
I
let-
answered
let
the
me
phone.
tell you, you're sorry you did that. Look, I am so right to know.
I understand that.
And you criticize me
Yep, we
for
did.
one particular thing.
One vote.
One vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and
But there were some others that you
no,
took.
no, no. I won't. I'm not going to get into that. That's just politics. That's what happens. That's how I saw things. And I'm the only person who has said, if there's things I can't vote for my party, but I don't want to vote against it, I will get up and walk outside for the vote. Everybody goes, that's terrible, that's terrible, that's terrible. It's not terrible.
What?
Would you rather sit there and lie to people that you believe that your party is doing the right thing at that particular moment? Should you vote against your party, which may,
Why not?
hurt the party?
Why would you
I
not
am
vote?
voting against the party by not being in there because that's one vote, but it's not a vote against, and there is a big difference.
So
More people should do this.
there's an ethic, there's a perception that one of the problems with politics is that,
Newspapers.
well, that's
You guys attack
that
us
goes
all.
back centuries.
Now, you have to remember, I was in talk radio, so I'm playing devil's
That's all
advocate.
right.
I don't necessarily agree
So,
with
but-
what I say. I'm asking you.
Is that there is an ethic. And part of the reason that we are where we are as a state and as a country is that there's a climate where people put party ahead of best interest, the public interest.
No question. There's absolutely no question. In fact, the Republicans, politician, I try to make a point when I say Republican, I want to make the difference between a politician and a voter. I've been trying to do this because it's absolutely important. A Republican politician will sit right next to me. They will have 3 papers on telling them how to vote. I've seen this person many times go like this, go like this. When it's time to vote, he looks down and he presses the button. And I go, what the hell did you do that for?
I tell you why they do that.
Yeah, I know
And
why
it comes
they
back
do that.
to it comes back to the point that we were talking about earlier, is because there are so many bills that
No,
as a member, have you read every bill that you vote on?
That's not the reason.
Well,
the
that's some of
reason
it.
why is they
Sometimes.
have a report card,
Right.
which is brought out on a weekly basis, and it shows you where you are. And I've got something that you probably don't know. You see this right here? After a vote is taken, the people can literally get on their iPhones
And see
who voted,
right.
go over and give them hell.
Yep.
That's happened to the person sitting right next to me. He said, oh, it was by accident. He was lying because I saw that he took the thing, all right? So that's awful. that people are doing that. But I'll bet you there's one other thing you don't know. Did you know that, what I just said, by
At
the
least
way?
one? No, I didn't.
All right, okay, I got another one for
But
you.
it makes sense because the roll calls tend to be in real time.
Yes. Then the big problem is that they do roll calls basically just to find out sometimes what people are doing.
Correct.
Waste of time. Big waste of time and money. All right, I mean, we're talking, what? Is there an average about $1? You were up in the clerk's office.
Yeah, I don't know.
About $1 or something?
I don't know what
every time you do a roll call, voice vote is easy.
How many people does it take to is it still 10?
Yeah, it should be 20, but it should be. Because some people just stand up just for the sake of somebody, just to stand up because it's an individual. And I've seen these recently, especially with the fire gun thing, where it was like 16 people voted for it. The rest, 300 and something, voted against. How stupid that is.
The flamethrower lobby.
Yeah, I know. You know, that's so bizarre. That we have to constantly go through things like this. And I guess this is where you come in, we're saying you got to get nuisance bills. Is that what you're saying?
There's some. There's some.
Would you consider that a nuisance bill?
Yeah.
But it did come to the floor.
It did. Every bill comes to the floor.
And it was on the consent calendar.
When the mullet comes to the floor, then we'll know that we have completely gone out of control.
Is that the haircut you were talking about? Okay.
Making the mullet the state.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's so many people that are just one person, just one particular thing that they want their whole life. For instance, we'll use abortion for one. There are people who are so nuts about this that when they
Passionate. That's the better word.
no nuts, okay. Look, nuts. I'm
know.
there. You're being nice. I'm telling you, this guy gets up now. All these fourth graders, I'm sure you wrote about this.
I remember that.
About the hawk. And this guy gets up and starts talking about abortion and how the hawk will pull things, the bodies.
Right.
Pull. That is really bad because those fourth graders, what do they learn that day? What, we're all stupid?
It didn't cast the legislature in a very good light.
And the problem is, again, is when one person does something, it was 3 people basically who got up. When those 3 people do something bad, we all look bad. And when one of us does something good, we're not counted as good. It's so awkward. And in your profession, where you had Kevin Lanigan up there, I mean, that was incredible having Kevin up there.
We still run Kevin's column.
Oh, no, I understand that. But he now is up there, half the time. He's not up there as much as he used to be. But the Telegraph had somebody up there. Well, let's get to the news business. Telegraph is not up, doesn't have somebody up there. And there's a lot of things taking place. Huh?
Chris Garofolo goes up on a fairly regular basis. And he's our chief political reporter. And Chris, he knows his way around the State House.
Does he bring his camera?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, yeah.
Chris is he's a solid reporter. He's passionate about politics. He's fair, and people really like dealing with him.
You know, it's the problem with you guys. You don't have the people to do this investigating things. Because I did earlier bring up the FRM, Financial Resource Mortgage, which is such a long story. There's even a book written on it. Okay, there's a damn book written on this one thing that we just finally got passed. And it's really hard, but if you guys really could do that, just find someone maybe like myself and say, this is what I think. Well, maybe it's not what you guys are looking for. You go to somebody else, or I can point the direction. You do a little investigating. One quick one. I'm in commerce, which is banking and insurance. An insurance commissioner comes in and says, I want this bill. So we take a look at the bill. He says, insurance didn't bring this in. Somebody suggested it. What it was to take an insurance company that were having a hard time, bring them under the umbrella of the insurance commissioner, And after they were under the umbrella, silence. Complete, total silence. And when it first came up, I said, "What, are you crazy? We just went through the FRM thing. How about if you're an investor in the insurance company? How about if the insurance company is in your portfolio? How can you find out about that?" And the state of New Hampshire is going to get in trouble because the insurance company is going to say, "Hey, guess what? New Hampshire said to do this, but New Hampshire can't say they can talk about anything." So guess what they do? They send in an amendment. Nobody is responsible for anything. We can be wrong, and we're not responsible. That was an amendment that came in. That was something that, something that would...
Did it pass?
Yes. Yes, it did.
And therein,
this is nuts.
the biggest flaw to the legislative process in New Hampshire is that because there was no staff and because we have a citizen legislature, that you are almost totally dependent upon lobbyists for expertise. So you have banks writing the banking legislation. You have insurance companies writing the insurance legislation. Let's go back to...
well, when I first got there were more bankers and more insurance people in the committee. And I was like the odd one. Well, there was a couple of us. And I complained. I said, "What the hell, why even vote? The insurance people are going to do what they want." That has changed, by the way. There's a lot less in there.
So one of the things that we editorialized about it was Jerry Little's nomination, the
Yes.
senator from Ware.
Yes.
He spent 20 years as a lobbyist with the banking.
He has come in many, many times.
And he's a good guy, but we raised the question of whether there is a proper arm's length relationship between him and the banking industry, because he has been nominated by Governor Hassan to be the next banking commissioner.
And he's a Republican senator.
Well,
He's a senator.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
Jerry Little,
it's a fair question.
Jerry Little did what?
He was a lobbyist for the banking industry.
For the banking industry. Well, and as
And
I said,
now,
I've said it many times.
as the banking commissioner, he would be the person responsible for regulating that industry. So is there a proper arm's length relationship? Can somebody who's been a lobbyist for 20 years be trusted to regulate and hold accountable the people that he used to work for, the industry?
You know what the great problem is? Knowledge.
So, and he's got lots of
Knowledgeable
knowledge.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy, and I think the position that we took is really there's nobody else in the state who has the knowledge, but hasn't been a lobbyist who could do this job. And so we questioned that, and I think it's a legitimate question.
Well,
he may yet get confirmed.
He's gone through the.
I know they had a hearing.
Process. Yeah, they went through one of the hearing processes.
So
I know him.
He's
well.
a good guy.
No, he is a good guy.
Yep.
When he came in and sit down, and you're right, he'd come in and sell, what his clients want.
We said, and we told the governor's office that we gave him a heads up that we're doing an editorial on this.
Sure.
And I think what we said was, at best, it looks bad. The appearance is a little unseemly.
At best, it looks. What's the worst?
That it looks like a huge conflict of interest.
Would he? Do you know the man?
Not well.
Okay. Do you think that could happen?
I don't know. And but is that a job that you want? I don't know good enough.
You want to know something? I and a couple other people responsible for getting rid of one of the insurance, the head of the insurance department, when it was the FRM thing. You know where he came from? Then the insurance
He come
commissioner.
from the insurance industry?
No, he came from securities to move over there. And then when he got in all this trouble, he blamed everything on securities. So this was probably more power. You're right. He has so much power. I don't think there is anything worse than once you're under the umbrella of insurance and banking. We'll use banking. You find out nothing. You can't get any information at all.
Well, the classic example
I mean,
was.
we're representatives. We're working on these bills, and won't tell us.
So let's go back to.
So what do we do? We don't have any staff. Let's see if you can cure this problem. We're talking about an insurance person coming up to be the head of the insurance department. All right? How do we get information about him as representatives?
You hold hearings.
Okay.
The internet's a pretty good source.
Oh yeah, you get all the truth on the internet. That's for sure.
Well, you find the good, the bad, and the ugly frequently. But let's go back to, remember when Anthem was the only health insurance carrier in the state.
Don't stop me with Anthem.
Okay, so they were the only health insurance carrier in the state, and they wanted to shrink their network, right? So there were about there were a bunch of hospitals that were, including some local ones, that were going to be cut out, and they gave that information to the insurance department. But the law forbade the insurance commissioner from telling the legislature or telling anybody from making that public until Anthem released the information.
You know, Roger, sitting right there in that chair, I argued that thing with Bill O'Brien many, many, many times. It was his legislature. It was his group of people, when he had a supermajority, made it illegal to form an insurance exchange, which meant money comes in, we pass the money out. Anthem turns around, gets the okay with the federal government, cuts these people. One was the Southern Regional, and by the way, okay?
But
go ahead.
Here's the problem.
And you're under the impression it was what?
But the insurance department, once they knew that the network was about to shrink, they knew that these hospitals.
We knew it.
Not until Anthem told you. Anthem.
Yes, but you see, that's but that's the secrecy of that. You can't do that. Companies cannot. They give information to the insurance department. They can't give that information out. It's illegal to give it out.
Why is it illegal?
Don't ask me.
I'll tell you why. Because the insurance company.
Don't ask me.
Because the insurance company wrote the law.
Hey, listen, Bernie. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
There is not a person who agrees more with you than me.
And I don't
it's impossible.
That, but I'm saying that is symptomatic of the problem.
But the problem is that I can take both sides. The problem is there's so many delicate things here that are involved. First of all, once the Anthem comes in and says, this is what I want to do, guess what happens? They have to look at it and they have to agree with it. For the federal government to agree that Anthem can do it. When Anthem did it, all right, I said, you lost one in Nashua? I want that back. I went to Anthem and I said, how much does it cost to put one more hospital on? They wouldn't tell me. How much money are you making by not having one hospital put in there? They wouldn't tell me. The question I have to ask you, Mr. Newspaperman, is I'm an elected official. I'm asking these questions to people who have the only insurance company in the state.
But
how do I get it?
Okay, so you should be able to go
to who?
To the insurance commission.
But that's over. They're running the thing now. It's the company, Anthem. I've gone to Anthem.
But before the revised network went into effect, when the insurance department had the information, they couldn't tell anybody because the law said they couldn't tell anybody.
That's right.
Because that law was written by the insurance industry.
They can't. Correct.
So let's move on.
If you in turn have an argument with the insurance, of how that works in banking, you come to the right person. After what I've gone through up there with the banking and the insurance, it's just awful. If people out there think they run, banking or insurance, or the legislators do, they got think about that. We're zero up there.
So let me tell you about a recent positive development that I think may help transparency in New Hampshire.
Now, you keep going to transparency. Now, you said one good development. Does this have to do with what we're talking about, or is this as an overall?
This is about following the money in the state of New Hampshire.
Okay.
So right now, and we said this in an editorial, if you want to find out how much money an elected official, state official, has gotten from an industry or a lobbyist or just contributions, it's not easy.
Who? A lobbyist.
No, if you want to find out which lobbyist, what lobbyist A has given, who lobbyist A has given to.
Money?
Or if you want to find out,
are you talking a representative?
A campaign committee.
Are you talking about representatives?
Representatives, senators, governor, executive
Well, that's
council.
easy. You can just go up and get my information.
Well, but I'm saying if you're to look online, is you go to the Secretary of State's website.
That's not online.
It is online, but it's a little bit like.
No, it is online, but
it is so fragmented. Here's what we said. It's a little bit like somebody took a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle and dispersed the pieces over a 10-acre field of knee-high grass, and now you have to go find those pieces and put the puzzle together.
Yes, but you know what you have to remember.
There's no database.
What you have to remember. It's hundreds of years, okay, of doing something, and then something comes in called the computer. We don't even have enough people up there.
So that's not the issue.
To get it online is not the issue?
Not the issue.
Okay, so what's the issue?
So the problem is the state has no database. Didn't have a database. The Secretary of State's office has just put online a new database that will allow representatives, state officials, senators, lobbyists to file electronically so that somebody sitting at home could go on their Secretary of State's website and let's say they wanted to find out how much a state senator had received from a campaign
or a representative,
or from a committee.
Yep.
The Committee for Good Government, let's say.
Yep.
So
I understand that.
Now you can actually find out who you may be able to. So it's probably a little premature to say you can. Problem is, so there's a database. That's the good news.
The hard news is
the bad news
trying to figure it out.
Well, no, it's pretty easy to use.
Then what's the bad news?
The bad news is
no, wait.
You can keep on using the old system because there's no
Who's
requirement.
using the old system? The Secretary of State's using the old system?
Well, that system continues to exist. But you don't, as a representative, you don't have to file electronically.
Why would I?
Why wouldn't you?
Because I go to the State House all the time? Stick it in the mail,
How
stick it
about-
out there. I like it paper.
So-
you like paper?
No.
You don't like paper?
I love paper.
Yeah, you bet.
But from a right-to-know standpoint and a public transparency standpoint, if members, let's say the governor, Senate, Executive Council, those are fairly sophisticated offices. If they file electronically, people will be able to search the database to find out who has
So
given.
what you're saying is if somebody goes up with paper, it's not put on the computer.
Well, it is, but it's much more fragmented, and you still have to chase it down the old-fashioned
Well, what
way.
more do you want?
Well,
I mean, come on now.
I am glad you asked that question. Because
Yes.
there is a bill, or there have been bills,
Yeah.
mandatory electronic filing.
Why?
Why not? Well, the answer.
Why would it?
Public,
Do you know why?
Because
I'll
people,
tell you why you don't want it. You don't want it because if somebody walks up and puts it down up at the Secretary of State's office and they put it into a computer, it's not going to be the computer that you want it in because you can't get it.
it's going to be. It doesn't show
How
up.
about call the Secretary of State
It
up?
doesn't show up in the
People's
database.
got to use phones more.
It won't show up in the database
Why?
because
Even if the Secretary of State puts it in?
it's right. The PBFs. Well, maybe they'll do that, but that's another step. So the answer, the reason The answer to your question, why, is because public, it's more transparent, it's easier to search, and it allows people to follow the money easier.
Well, you don't know this, okay, and I won't tell you all of it, but a couple people are responsible for a lot of things taking place that is brand new. But these people will not get rewarded for it simply because nobody does a story on these things. The stuff that has taken place up there to let information out there, you haven't even scratched the surface. You're just at the top of the nut. Take my word. Some have been down in the bottom trying to push stuff up.
I think
but that's your thing, though.
I think the database.
But wait, let's stop the database.
Sure.
Your thing in your totality is that everybody should have the freedom to everything?
I think they should be able to follow the money to find out who's contributing to who.
I think you're right. No, well, wait a minute. Do you mean just politicians? Do you mean just how about the PACs?
Yep.
The PACs should also. Where the money goes for the PACs.
Who are the PACs giving
excuse
to?
me. Well, isn't a PAC now a person? Well, no. In my opinion, it's not.
So the database, and it's on the Secretary of State's website. It's pretty good. It'll be better if people use it, and if the legislature requires electronic filing, people will use it, and it'll make money easier to follow. So you'll be able to find out which lobbyists and which PACs gave money to who, to which politicians.
Well, it's so little, but we only have less than 2 minutes. How can people get in touch with you?
They can email me.
How?
Carroll at NashuaTelegraph.com.
Okay.
They can call. We still do that the old-fashioned way.
But
we still get old-fashioned letters to the editor.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and if people want to send a letter to the editor, it's letters at NashuaTelegraph.com. I read every one.
Really?
Yep. Every one. Yeah, and we print,
do you find it pleasure when one comes in?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, that means that I have to, sometimes
Oh, wait a minute. You have to take it. You got to put it in a computer. Just like the Secretary of State has to take it and put it in a computer. But in your computer system, does it get fragmented somewhere around there that not everybody gets that information?
It's pretty good.
It's but not perfect.
No.
So my whole point being, and I'm playing only the devil's advocate, you're right. A lot more information should get out there. A lot of people should know where the money is going. Well, I can tell you, insurance companies and bankers haven't given me a penny.
You know, one of the things that most of the people in public office are good, honest.
99.9%.
I would say so. I would say so. And the times that they're not are largely circumstantially driven.
Or nuts.
No, I don't think so.
Well, we just had one that was pretty nuts. 29 seconds. Listen, Roger, it has been an hour.
Yeah.
Does this seem like an hour to you?
It seems like about 3.
About 3 hours. Thank you very much. And I understand the Telegraph might be doing something here, potentially.
We will see. I think, as I said, I have a face made for radio. And
Richard went to me. Okay, listen, folks, this has been Roger Carroll. Telegraph. You know how to get in touch with them. This is Ken Gidge, Out of Politics.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.